Hey guys, this is Jake here at Canadian Cutting Edge, and yes, the Perpetua by a Massdrop Schwarz collaboration made by MILLIT Knives in Idaho. We've got that's 3 different companies involved, right? Massdrop, Designer, and MILLIT Knives. TJ Schwarz made a really good design here. It's a very simple, straightforward knife in a lot of ways, and it's very, very good in some ways as well. Does it have cons? Yes, it does. And I think you want to stick around for the full review, because the pluses, not only do they far outweigh the cons, this knife will come available again in the future. So stick around for the full review coming at you right now. So here's the full length of the knife. It's a, just over a 3-inch blade. They say it's 3 1/4 inches, but it's not. It's 3.15 at the longest dimension. That's the cutting edge. And 3.11 from the G10 to the tip of the blade. So they're probably measuring from back here to the tip of the blade to get their 3 1/4. I don't know. Depends on how the law measures it where you are. I would hope that they would measure it, the shortest distance from the handle to the tip of the blade. And if they were getting this close to 3 inches, why didn't they make a 3-inch knife? That's my question. And if it's going to be a 3 1/4 inch blade, I like it to be a 3 1/4 inch blade. That's just my taste. That's a minor con, but it's a con. I don't like it when manufacturers give different sizes than what they're actually shipping out. The other sizes on this thing are fairly accurate. They're a little tiny bit off compared to mine. But when you're making these in a factory, sort of one at a time kind of thing, of course, they've got an assembly line of sorts there, but, it's not as a huge plant in China. These are made in Idaho, in the MILLIT factory in Idaho. So, they are sort of made in a smaller context, which means, I wish they'd get a little bit better, a little more accurate with all of their dimensions and sizes and stuff like that. But what we've got is a Nitro-V blade. Rockwell hardness on this thing's around 58 plus or minus, because they said 57 to 59, so I say 58 plus or minus. We've got an access lock. They've got a very tight omni coil. It attaches just very close to where the end of the slot is right there. It's a very tight curve that they've made with this. So it's got, just a little range here, but they didn't make it so that it's a heavy spring. So it doesn't have a heavy spring. And so it's a thin spring that they gave a really tight coil to. We'll find out how well they last over time. We just don't know that yet. We've got Torx screws here. I think that's a T8 or a T9. I don't remember exactly. I forgot. I'll put it on the screen exactly what the size of the screws are. But you can take it apart easily enough. We've got phosphor bronze washers. They've got pictures of the inside already, so I'm not going to take mine apart for you. But we'll show you the picture of the inside, and I'll do that right now. So it doesn't have ball bearings, and it's got smooth action. Well, how does that work? Well, it works because washers are just fine. We are in an age right now of maybe it's a temporary blip where we're worshiping ball bearings way more than we should. Phosphor bronze washers, if they're done right, are very smooth, and the action on this is very smooth. So if you pull the lock back so it's not engaged, just a little shake and the blade falls down. It doesn't take much at all. So the way an access lock works, the detent from it is pretty good. Not quite as good as, the best detents I've had around, but it's the nature of the access lock, the way this works. Jimping up here is very good. Not too aggressive that it's bothersome, but not so gentle that it's unhelpful. So the jimping's very good. I like that. Thumb studs are that sort of pyramid shape, like steps. and they work very well. It's easy to get a good grip on that thumb stud to deploy the blade. It works just fine. And being an access lock, they've made it exactly the same left or right to access those thumb studs and flick that knife out. So that's a good thing. Or, of course, you can do the playing with the access lock and making it deploy without using the thumb studs at all. We've got stonewashed liners. We've got, I forget what kind of treatment this is called, but it's got a treatment to the steel to give it this gray look, and then it's stonewashed. Looks very nice. I really like the look of it. We've got a cross between a drop point and a sheep's foot here. I guess if they got together and had a baby, this knife would be one of those. Titanium pocket clip. And I think the liners are titanium as well. And you can see the skeletonizing when you see the picture of the inside. Lanyard hole is right there, and it's big enough for, you know, any basic what's that rope called again? Paracord. I love my brain on pain. So paracord through there, that works just fine. And these edges are nicely rounded, nice gentle curves all over the place. Very, very comfortable in hand. Reverse grip is great. You know, the regular forward grip is great with either hand. It's best when your thumb stud is in towards your hand, as it would be if you're right-handed. It's going to be this way. If you're left-handed, the thumb stud will be on here. I mean, the pocket clip will be on this side, and it'll feel really good that way. There's the logo right there for the designer, TJ Schwarz. This is nice. The first 1,000, which I got from the very first run, were numbered. I've got number 0097. So I'm within the first 100, so that's kind of cool. I like that. Hollow grind. Edge is nice and thin. Well, let's go over all the dimensions now. Let's zoom in and do that. Cutting edge is 8 centimeters. That's 3.15 inches. Blade length, so G10 to the tip of the blade, is 7.9 centimeters, 3.11 inches. The blade thickness, they claim that it's 3.2. Well, on my vernier calipers, it's 3.1, and that equals 0.122 inches instead of 0.125. So it's 0.03 of an inch off. Big deal. Actually, zero big deal, right? Just in case somebody doesn't get the sarcasm. Blade depth, that's this dimension, 2.9 centimeters, 1.14 inches. The thickness of the edge behind the grind is 0.52 millimeters, and that's 0.02 inches. I do like, you know, the sharpening on this knife. When I saw it, I looked at it and I saw, wow, that edge is even, or very close to even, all the way up, and very close to even all the way down this side. And I looked down the blade and it looked like it's very well centered. And so I still wanted to do my measurements, so I put it on my guided sharpening system, the one that I can measure very high accuracy for the angles. And the knife blade on the show side here with the name on the blade and stuff, this was 22.1 degrees on an angle. If I'm holding it this way, on this angle right here between the blade and my finger is 22.1 degrees. And this side was 24.2 degrees. Now, most EDC knives, most manufacturers sharpen them to about 20 degrees per side. It's the industry kind of normal or standard. And I was surprised that they were that far off, 24.2. That's, you know, a fair bit off. That's like, you know, almost 20% off. You know, that's a significant difference. But to be fair, almost every other knife that I review is the same way. It's just an industry norm. I really do wish that smaller factories like MILLIT would, you know, get these things sharpened on a guided sharpening system. Yeah, it's going to add a little bit more time than it does sharpening these by hand. Because by hand, it's really quick. And on a guided system, it takes longer. and maybe they're just not willing to put in that expense. But I think the customers would really, really appreciate it very much. Because right now, if I want it 20 degrees per side, I've got to waste some of the steel on this knife. Now, I do like hollow grinds because they stay narrow for a number of sharpeners, like narrow behind the grind, thin behind the edge for a number of sharpenings. Whereas, you know, a V-grind knife, every single time you sharpen it, that gets thicker behind the grind. Okay, it gets thicker on hollow grinds too, but not anywhere near as quickly. So, yeah, to be fair, it's not something that put me off to buying it. Not one bit at all, but that's the grind angle on this knife. Really, really good EDC choice, if you ask me. The handle length is 11.3 centimeters, 4.45 inches. The grip area between my thumbs here is 8.5 centimeters, 3.35 inches. The handle thickness is 1.2 centimeters, not counting the pocket clip, and that's 0.47 of an inch, so just under half an inch thick. That's really good. And the handle depth is biggest right back here, 2.9 centimeters, 1.14 inches. And the blade, or the knife depth, is biggest right here because the jimping comes out with the blade. That's 3.2 centimeters. That's 1.26. So 1¼ inches thick this way in your pocket. Not bad at all. Total length of the knife with the blade deployed is 19.3 centimeters, 7.6 inches. So we've got a 7.5 inch knife with an over 3 inch blade. Not bad at all. And the balance point for it is, let me get it here, right there. So it's a little bit back of what I want, but actually a very little bit. So I might like it there, and it's right there. So almost imperceptible. So really good balance. I like that an awful lot. This was listed initially at $109, and that included some perks like having it a numbered edition because it's the first run, and we got to meet online TJ Schwarz and some other stuff. I think they're going to be selling it for $119.99 US in future runs. So that, well, this one at 109 equaled about 143 Canadian, about 95 euros, about 84 British pounds. The only place to get this knife ever will be at Massdrop, so you'll have to join Massdrop if you want to get this knife. And if you're not a Massdrop member, I've got links down below. If you're on a cell phone, click on the little triangle that's right below my finger here. And above the first comment on this side, you click on Show More if you're watching on a computer. And then you can get at all the links and stuff, and that's a good thing. If you join Massdrop, if you're not a Massdrop member yet, they will give you $10 off your first purchase. If you use my link, that is, because then I will also get $10. You get $10, I get $10. It's a great way to support Canadian Cutting Edge and get yourself a deal. The unique features on this knife, well, mine is it's got the numbering on it. A Nitro-V, it's not a super common steel. I won't talk about it too much, but Nitro-V, I'll give you a link down below so that you can research Nitro-V yourself. It's a decent, good, robust steel. I put it in that mid-grade of steels. It's not a super steel, but it's certainly not a budget steel. How does this thing work in the pocket? Well, we'll show you that, and we'll talk about the pocket clips. So there it is in the pocket. It sticks out about 2/3 of an inch, just under 2 centimeters. I would like one thing about this, you know, the pocket clip, well, a couple things, is a little bit too high off of the knife. I'd like a shallower pocket clip. Very few of them have this much space in there. It's just not that common. And I wish they would have made the pocket clip up a little higher. This stud is totally optional where it is. They could have put it, you know, in line with this one right here. And, you know, even if they put the lanyard hole there still, they could still put it up, move that pocket clip up that way closer to the end. That would have been a good thing. Another thing is, since they're making these to order, I hope next time, and I've sent them this suggestion, I really hope they listen to it. I hope they'll give you the option of choosing right-handed or left-handed, because there's no need to have this milled out here if they're going to make a separate left-handed version and a separate right-handed version. I know the big companies in China, they're not going to do this sort of thing, but when you're talking about production in an American factory in Idaho, they're small enough that they could be able to do that without any extra, well, very, very few extra costs, very, very tiny. The extra cost is basically somebody, picking this out of crate A instead of out of crate B, if it's right or left-handed. That's all it takes. They'd save that much milling on some of these because they'd only have to mill this little hole out and drill those holes out on, half as many handle scales. And then the handle scales would look better. At least I think so. But I do really, really like that they made it left and right optional. That's a really good thing. So I'm not beefing that out. I think they could go one extra step. That's what I'm saying. So it's not a con. It's a suggestion to make it even better. The texture on the G10 is nice and fine, so it's not super aggressive. It's just the right amount of texture, right amount of grip. Perfect. Really, really like it a lot. All the corners here everywhere are just slightly rounded. Beautiful. Even on the liners in here. Very, very good. I love it a lot. I'll give you a close-up shot of these pillars. They're oversized. And the stop pin is oversized. Really, really nice. I like that kind of attention to detail very much. All I did was adjust the pivot a little bit because they came too tight. It was hard to open the knife. And other people who got this first run said the same thing. I have not oiled the bearings, the washers or anything. All I did was adjust the pivot a tiny bit, and now it's beautiful. Love the action on this. So let's go over the pros and cons. The action is great after an adjustment. That's a really good thing. This dull color is really good if you want to do concealed carry in the future. I hope they offer more colors. That would be really nice. Maybe a satin blade. I know a lot of people like that, but I do love the stonewash. It's certainly a nice non-glare finish that we have right here, right now. So it's a good concealed kind of carry and even hold kind of knife in the dark or whatever. I like the oversized screws. That's a really good thing. The texture on the G10 is really good. It's milled out very well. The pocket clip is awesome, albeit a little bit too high off of the handle. And that's pretty much it. And that's my basic con is with this pocket clip. I wish it was a little bit higher up and a little bit closer to the surface of the knife. So it's a really good knife. How does it cut? It's a push cut, pushing on one spot. It's beautiful. No matter where you are cutting on the blade, it's equally sharp all the way along the blade. Of course, slicing is even better. It just does a really, really good job. You've got no problem with wood. You can cut very fine details easily. No problem at all. Beautiful, beautiful. And the tip is nice and strong, so you can, drill yourself a hole if you wanted to. Of course, I just don't just go one direction. I like to cut both ways and drill that way. But, it's a nice strong tip. I don't do the tip down and bend over test. I would never do that in real life in normal circumstances. So I don't do it in my tests either unless it's something as shallow as this, because I like to keep my knives for a long time. And I can do this kind of drilling out without doing the stick it in and fold it. To me, I don't like to abuse my knives even while I am testing them, because I test them for a normal user. If I was talking about a survival fixed blade, yeah, those things need to be tested to a much higher level. We're talking about a folding knife that you want to carry for EDC kind of use. It also works for self-defense because all those different grips work just fine. Great action, wonderful little knife. Thanks for watching my video. Thanks for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Remember, links below so that you can get one of these or get in with Massdrop. Remember, guys, always cut towards your chum and not your thumb.